This is an interview with Kathleen Bunton for the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute's Oral History Project. And this is Friday, and it's September 1996, September the 6th, and I'm Benny Miles. How are you, Mrs. Bunton? Bunton.
Just fine.
Good. I want to talk a little bit about your background. And are you from Birmingham, first of all?
Yes, I am.
Are you?
Yes, I am.
What section of the city were you born?
In the northern section.
Okay. When you say northern, what?
North Birmingham, out in the
Okay.
northern area.
Uh-huh.
Actually, at the time of birth, we resided in Trussville, but I was born here in Birmingham, Alabama. My family did.
Okay.
We moved to Birmingham shortly, a few years after.
After your birth in Trussville? I mean, you were born in
I was
Birmingham.
born in Birmingham.
What hospital, do you remember?
University.
All right.
At that time, it was the old Hillman Hospital.
Okay. And you grew up in North Birmingham?
We lived in North Birmingham.
Was that like Collegeville?
That's like out in the area that was identified as Byers Hill.
Oh,
right out of
okay.
Fairmont.
Yes, in fact, we found out that Byers Hill has several names, but there was a man by the name of Mr. Byers or something?
Right.
Did you ever know him?
Oh,
or
yes,
was-
I know him very well. I know his family and all the family members.
Really?
Yes.
Well, tell us about it. When you remembered yourself, were you like 5, 8, 6? What age can you?
Probably about 5,
Mhm.
because I had gone to school a year in Trussville, Alabama.
Oh, so you went to school real early.
Yes, really, because my mother was very friendly with the principal, and of course I had an older sister who attended school. She's in first grade. I was not old enough to go, and I would cry every day. And the principal just said, well, let her come with her, you know. So
Okay.
she let me come to school with my older sister.
Okay.
And I had done so well until she decided to promote me.
Really? So you were what age then when you started school in the Byers Hill area?
When I started school in Byers Hill areas, I was 7 years old.
And so you got promoted to the next
To the
grade?
next grade, and the next year we moved to Birmingham, and I went to Hudson, Alabama.
Okay.
That was, well, I guess that was 6. So
Mhm.
I was 6.
Okay.
And then I started to proceed the rest of my family to Mississippi. I
Uh-huh.
had a problem with motion sickness, and I could not ride the bus.
Really?
And the
When you were a little girl?
very little.
So what happened when you would get on the bus?
Oh, I would get so nauseated, I couldn't stand it. And so the doctor assured my mother that after about a year, I would be able to ride the bus. He said that was something I would grow out of.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from our house to Hudson Elementary School
Mhm.
alone. I would never let my kids travel that far.
But when you talk about traveling there, but let's go back though. But when you lived in the area of Byers Hill, and you said you knew Mr. Byers,
Yes, I did.
so what did he live on a hill, or why was
Well,
it? Do you
they were
remember?
a large family in the community, and back then, you know, they were well known. So when we moved there, they had named it, but I learned they was named Father Byers. And they were a very large family, and I guess I don't know how that happened.
Okay.
And they occupied a lot of land in that particular area.
Okay, so
I-
when you say a large family, does it mean that it was a lot of kids?
a lot of children, they had a lot of children.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. And so with that, of course, you said they owned a lot of property, so that may have been why. The community that you lived in, and you said you walked to school,
Yeah.
and it was about how many blocks would you say, or was it blocks or miles, or?
It was at least 2 miles from my house.
But you were fine, but did you go with other kids when you
Well,
went
there
to
were
school?
other kids that I walked with, so I was not really alone.
Mm-hmm. But during that time, and it's not to imply in any way that you're an old woman, it means that the times that we grow up in, different times dictate different kinds of things. So it was more like more of a community, would you say?
Yes, it was more of a community, and I must admit, I didn't think about, of course, I would have had, any thoughts about being afraid of something happening,
Mhm.
like I would have that fear today.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, nothing ever happened,
Mhm.
But I'm just thinking how different it is now. You just wouldn't feel safe with a child that young walking that far. I would.
What did you think of school, and what do you remember in your earlier years, let's say in elementary school? What were the teachers like, and what was the principal like? Was it difficult?
Well, I remember I loved school, always did.
Mhm.
And of course, I always wanted to go to school. And I had so much admiration for my teachers. Whatever they said was just the last word. And, I kind of remember how the teachers, they just would cuddle you. They just took to you. Just every child was almost personal with teachers.
Okay.
And I think I sort of enjoyed that, you know. I was from a large family, you know, a whole lot of personal, but had to go around.
So how large was your family? How many sisters and brothers?
Well, I had 6 brothers and I have 5 sisters. Well, 6 girls and 6 boys.
12 children?
Yes.
Wow. And where do you fit in? Where did you fit in the 12?
I'm number 4.
Number 4.
Right. I'm the 4th girl.
Okay.
All of my brothers are younger. I have 6 brothers younger than I am.
Okay.
So I got a chance to be mom at a very early age.
Okay. What about your parents? And did your mom work outside of the home, or was
My
she?
mother worked outside of the home. She was, at one time, she was lunchroom manager at the community school there.
Okay.
I don't know how she found time to do that. But she did work outside. My father worked at the pipe shop out in Terrence City.
So when he worked at the pipe shop and your mom worked in the school, was your family considered kind of wealthy?
No.
You were just considered average, or were you considered?
For that time, we were average. My dad did a lot of farming. Which
Really?
Yes.
What did he have? What kind of things did he have on the
All
farm?
kind of vegetables. And of course, as a matter of fact, he grew practically all of our food. And of course, we had our own hogs, our own cows, our own chickens.
You did? You had hogs and
Yes.
pigs too?
Yes.
So did you help out on the farm, or did you?
Yes.
What
You had to there. You didn't have a choice.
What was your job?
Not one job. There was many jobs.
Or what was some of the things?
Mainly, really, I helped a lot with the children, being one of the, you know. among
Okay.
them. But of course, we had so many chores to do. We had to help with all of them. Oh, I milked the cow.
Oh, you milked a cow?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes.
What age were you when you did
I
that?
must have been about 12, 13, something of that nature.
So
But Dad taught us at an early age.
was it fun, or you didn't like it?
It wasn't hard. It was something. It was something else to do. And of course, we made fun out of everything.
So how did you make fun of
Well,
doing
really,
milking?
milking the cow. I had my brother that's a year younger. He loved to have milk right out of the cow.
Squirted in his mouth?
Yes. Oh, well, in a glass.
Oh, in a glass, okay.
So he would bring his glass, you know, to get milk. And I would go, yeah, I couldn't drink milk like that. It would have to be real cold. You know.
Because when it came out of the cow, of course, it was warm.
Yes, but he loved it like that.
Really?
And so a lot of things, you know, we look back, we get together, we laugh about it. It was so much fun.
What a
We
wonderful
laugh about
life, though.
Yes.
Wonderful childhood. About the cows now. Did they have names, or how many
it.
cows
Oh,
did?
well, you know, for some reason or another, I do not remember. I
That's
don't know
okay.
really why, but I know we called the cow Daisy.
Okay. There's all cows have
And,
what's
yes.
called Daisy at
And
one
so,
time.
cows are they are very strange. They're very clean animals. Very, very clean.
Really?
Yes.
You
very
said they're strange. How are they?
Well,
Because
I'll say I mean by this, I remember we would have to put water in this tub for the cow. And Daddy would tell us how it's, you know, you had to always wash this tub. I mean, really, they are very clean. If they would smell any kind of odor, they would not drink. And we must have had the cleanest cow in the world because, you know, as kids, you didn't always want to wash that tub real clean. Just put a little water in there. And then she would smell now.
And she knew.
And she would.
So you had to go back and redo that.
Oh, well, we would laugh, but you know, we would laugh about it. We thought it was funny that the cow wouldn't drink, but Dad had told us it has to be clean, believe me. And so in the afternoon when he came home, if that cow would consume an entire tub of water, he knew that cow hadn't had water during the day.
So
That
somebody
the
was in
telltale
trouble.
So that meant really.
Did you get a spanking?
Yes.
Really?
And we laughed about it as we got older. We said we wouldn't have a cow. You know, blah, blah, blah.
Well, what about, so when you got reprimanded, you know, I think today we choose our words so carefully when you talk about spanking, because we hear so much about abuse to children. But growing up at that time, you got a whipping or you got a beating, is that right? So did your dad, who did the spanking or the beating or the whipping?
My dad.
With the belt, a switch, or a hand, or what?
And it was so funny because he would always send us to get a switch, and he would let us go get our switch ourselves. You go bring the switch to me. This must be crazy, sitting go get a switch to.
You want to get the smallest one, right?
Right.
Did you have to go back and get another
Well,
one?
that depended on the mood Dad was in.
Let's talk a little bit.
But he really taught us something. We really did.
And we want to talk more about that, but let's talk a little bit about the hogs versus the pig. Now hogs, what's the difference between a hog and a pig? Or is there a difference? Do you know?
Well, I guess the pig is when it's very small.
So did your hogs ever have little piglets?
Yes.
And did you all like that, or to play with the pigs, or did you
Well,
just?
no, we didn't play with them. As a matter of fact, we had to help feed them. And of course, later on they fed us.
Okay. Did they have names? Or
No, I don't recall.
You didn't get
names,
a
but
custom.
we always had our own. During the winter months, my dad would kill the hogs,
Mm-hmm.
and we had an opportunity to observe the killing. And some of them would cry. Some of my brothers and sisters would kind of cry. You know, it just seemed so horrible.
Barbaric or whatever.
But the way it was done, it was interesting to watch all the things. I kind of wish my grandkids could observe how that happened.
How do they do it? I mean,
Well,
the
it
short
was just-
version of it.
Well, really, you know, he would like heat the water, build a fire outside in an iron pot,
Mm-hmm.
and get the water scalding hot.
And that's when you would put the hog in there?
No, they didn't put it in there, but they would take the water out of the pot and would have, we call them burlap bags now. They
Okay.
would have these burlap bags headed, and they would have, but in the meantime, before putting the water on, they would always hit the hog in the head.
Oh,
with
good.
a hammer to, you know. So
I say
hog-
good because the hog was
Yeah,
not.
yeah. So
Mhm.
then they would take the scalding water and pour it over. Then someone with knives or things would come and take all the hair off the
That was very interesting.
hog.
And then they would go on to prepare it and.
You know, they would, of course, they would have to stab the hog to get all the blood drained, and they would go on. Of course, we had a smokehouse where the meat was smoked.
Now, a smokehouse, when people listen and hear this today, a lot of children and even some adults don't know what is a smokehouse. Is it a place
Well,
where
after
you-
after they have killed the hogs and cut the hams and things into, you know, pieces, you would hang it and they would smoke it in this little house. And you have this delicious smoke taste. It was delicious.
Is it like anything you've tasted today?
It's not near as good today.
Uh-huh.
I don't think any of the meat tasted like my dad.
Mhm. Okay. And so everybody got together to help Daddy and Mom with all
Well,
this-
actually, the children did play a big part in that because there were other men in the community. They all ate at each other. There were others who had hogs.
Okay.
And so they would sort of help each other.
So you had hogs and pigs and cows and chickens. And with your chickens, did they lay eggs? And you had the eggs from the chicken house, or the hen house? How many roosters did you have? Did you have roosters?
Yes, we
Because you have to have roosters to have chickens, right?
I don't really remember the number, but I know that there were roosters.
When you look back at your childhood and you look at communities, we've had people say that there was a sense of community, that if there were others in the neighborhood that didn't have, you shared.
Oh,
People
yes,
shared.
of
How did that-
course. Oh, that was a great sense of community. I mean, people just really shared, with their service, not just, you know, they would come in if you were doing something and you didn't have to ask. Yeah, people just volunteered their services.
Mhm.
And of course, my mother was she gave very freely back to the community. Everybody waited for that hog meat and for milk and butter and eggs and all those kinds of vegetables, but they just loved my dad's vegetables. And so we just shared with the whole community.
Okay. You said you had butter also? You made
Yes.
butter from the,
From the
Okay.
milk, of course.
so you had to churn that?
Yes, we had to churn the milk.
Okay.
And I
And
saw a churn yesterday. My husband and I was browsing through the flea market, and I saw this churn. He said, "Look at here, makes you want to churn." I said, "No."
you don't want to do that. You've had your churning days.
Yes. I often say I paid my bills.
Your family, were you are your parents still living?
No, both parents are deceased now.
Mm-hmm. But growing up, were you involved, was your family involved in the church very much?
Yes, we were involved in church. My mother was very much involved. My father went not as regular as my mother, but we were involved in church, and we all grew up in the church.
Do you remember what church you attended?
That was at Mount Calvary Baptist Church.
Mhm.
That minister is deceased.
And all children went to church, and did you go to Sunday school and went to little plays
Sunday
and
school,
whatever?
well, we did the little plays at Christmas and Easter time, and we were involved in that. Of course, there were problems getting the boys to go. You know,
Mhm.
they were always not wanting to. I happened to be one of the ones who always enjoyed it, my sisters and I. And of course, in later years, they would go not frequently like we did.
You, what about the movement? How did you find out about it growing up? In your community, did you know anything about the voting, or did people talk about that, or the
My
Klan,
parents
or anything?
Oh, yes, my parents talked a great deal about the racial problems that happen, working on jobs where my dad worked. Of course, they encountered a lot of things. They would talk to us about the problems as they existed between blacks and whites.
Do you remember anything that your parents, that your dad or your mom may have said?
Oh, well, they would talk about, situations where there was not fair treatment in the workplace, and they would often talk about how, they would, while shopping in stores, you would always have to wait if a white person was in front of you. And I remember this particular incident. We were in the grocery store there one evening. My father had gotten paid off, and I guess my mom went to pick him up, and we stopped at the grocery store in the community, and to buy groceries. And of course, some of the smaller kids had begun to get tired and all. They were restless, and my dad had gotten all the groceries and had placed them up on the counter and all. And so, of course, as long as a white face walked up, they continued to wait on them first. And by then, my dad had just really grown tired. And so he walked over to the man and said, "I want you to check my groceries because I will take my family home." And of course, he replied to him, "Don't you see Jesse?" My dad's name is Jesse. "Don't you see I'm waiting on a white man or somebody?"
Did your dad reply at all? Or
He was so angry. I've never seen my dad that angry.
What did he say? Do you remember?
And this man had been known for keeping a gun under his
Counter?
And of course, when Dad said, I said, "Check my groceries so that I can take my family home," he went to reach under the counter to get his gun, and my dad put his head on top of his hand.
Did he?
And he came out of his pocket with brass knuckles.
Oh. Your dad did?
Yes.
And
he said, "Now check my family out."
And what did the man
He
do?
immediately checked our groceries.
And what?
And the fun thing about that was, as children, we were sort of getting excited. My dad was only like 5'2".
Okay.
Maybe not that tall. This man was a great big tall man.
And you're like, yeah! Is that what, like that?
Yes.
So what do you remember about what age you were then?
Oh, I must have been about 7 or 8, but I remember that very well.
Were you frightened, or were you proud, or were
I
you
was
scared?
never frightened in the presence of my parents.
Okay, when that
I was
happened.
security. I mean, with my dad, no, I was never afraid when he was around.
And so the man did it, and then did your dad ever go back to that store? Or do you remember?
I don't remember him going back.
Mhm.
I remember him telling us we didn't have to patronize people like that.
So of course, I'm sure by the time you got home, and everybody that night talked about it in your rooms,
Yeah.
what Daddy did.
He shared that with us. He told us about other situations that he had encountered on the job and things like that. So we were very much aware of racial. We grew up very knowledgeable about racial situations. And of course, when the Christian movement started, we started actively participating and attending the meetings.
Do you remember anything that your mother may have said that may have possibly happened to her, either going to work or at work, or anything in particular?
I don't recall anything particularly that my mother said. She worked for a short time at B Club, and she was a salad maker.
Okay.
That was, other than that, she was the lunchroom manager in the black school, so
Yeah.
we didn't have those kind of encounters.
Did she ever say anything about the grand parties at B Club, or?
Well, that was, at that particular time, we just had a place, we just sort of stayed in our place.
So you just, and as a salad maker.
So she worked at night. As a matter of fact, she was the lunchroom manager in the day. So she worked in the mornings, and when school was, she got off school, she'd go to work at 4 o'clock in the evenings to 12 o'clock at night.
Oh my, yeah.
So it was kind of hard.
So I would imagine that your parents had stressed the importance of education to the children staying in school.
Well, my mother was very, she talked a lot about giving education and not having to deal with a lot of situations that they had to deal with, how helpful that would be. I don't recall my dad putting a whole lot, my dad was a hard working man, just a hard worker. And I think he would have been content if everybody just got a job.
Yeah, yeah.
And his family, his parents, I think his father passed away at a very young age. So he was sort of like having to help his mom a lot and, helping take care of.
Mhm.
And but he told us he wanted us to go to school. My mom was stressed going to school.
Mhm. Okay. You mentioned about the movement. What do you recall? Did you, as being a member of different movements or organizations, how did you get involved with the mass? Did you attend any of the mass meetings, and what do you recall?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, Monday nights were sort of reserved for the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights.
Okay.
And I learned so much at those meetings. And I was so inspired by Reverend Shuttlesworth, how he would, it's like he always knew the things they would print in the paper, the statements that were being made. He would tell us. And he had a way of, he always had a lot of humor. And he would say little fun things. And of course, he said you could expect to see that in the Birmingham news.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, that would be
That would
there.
be there.
But the way they would get up there and encourage members not to participate in any kind of violence, that we could not accomplish our goal if we turned anyways violent. And if you felt like you had to be violent, maybe it's best that you don't attend this meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and the things that, and they stressed that. But I don't recall ever reading any of those kind of things
Mm-hmm.
that were stated. But if they made some little remark, or some little silly thing or something,
That would be.
And of course, they talked about jobs and the purpose. We knew the reason for this movement. And of course, and they encouraged voter registration, people voting, and of course, getting out to vote and doing the demonstrations, the part that each person was supposed to play, and told us that was something everybody could do. There were people who were afraid to participate because of the loss of jobs and things.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they even talked about, if you are going to be a participant and you're not going to do anything, you may help us, by just being quiet, not talking it down,
Right.
not saying derogatory things about people who participate. And then, all these kinds of things. And these people were hard-working people.
Mm-hmm. What about your parents, your mom and your dad? Did they participate?
Yes, my mother did. My dad was not a participant. I mean, he was not one in attendance, but he supported it wholeheartedly. So you can imagine with family, everybody, somebody is to me.
Yes.
In the background. But of course, my mother was very much
Involved?
Yes.
What did she ever do any marching?
Yes,
or?
as a matter of fact, she did march, and she went to jail for 7 days.
did?
She was jailed. And of course, during that particular time, they would say everybody can't go to jail. If you and the family with somebody has to run the house, and and there were other things that we had to do.
So what happened when she went to jail? Who took care of the family?
Well, by that time, most of them had grown up, but
Okay.
there were some smaller. We always had small children. But of course, I did. I helped out a whole lot. With, I helped my mother a lot. My other sisters had married and left home. So I was still home.
So when your mom
Closer, I was still, in close proximity.
Mm-hmm. So when she went to jail, was that during the time that she was also employed?
As a matter of fact, I'm trying to remember. Was she employed at that time?
No, she
I
may
don't
not
think
have.
so.
Okay.
I don't think she was employed at that time.
So when she went to jail and once she got out, what did she share about her
Oh,
experiences?
she told about she talked to us about the things that happened at night, how they would sing and how they prayed and there was a lot of humor. It seems like they had a good time, but really there were a lot of problems. There were people family members who were employed and were away from their jobs, and some of those people lost their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall my mom working at that particular
Okay.
time.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that she talked about what they would talk about at nighttime and how they were treated.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the treatment wasn't that good at all.
Mm-hmm.
But they were told, things that they didn't need to say, or they didn't do anything to antagonize people.
The guards and people at the jail. What about voting? Did your mom stress the importance of voting, and did you, and how
Yes.
involved did you become in
Well,
registering?
my mother and dad both stressed the importance of voting. And while in college, I participated in voter registration drafts. As a matter of fact, Dr. McPherson was a dedicated man at that particular time. He talked to us at length about the importance of voting. And he just didn't talk about it. He believed in doing something about it. He would take groups of students in various areas, and we had to work that area. And I remember working the area at Smithfield Project.
Okay.
How we started and how many blocks I had to take care of and go knock on these doors. And of course, at that particular time, you know, they had a long list of questions that you had to commit to memory. I remember studying those questions so hard so I can remember the answers so that I could qualify to vote. And I often wonder why. I thought that was so unnecessary.
Do you remember offhand any of the questions that seemed like so silly? And what did that have to do with registering to vote or to be a voter? Do you remember?
Not really, I just really don't. I just thought it was all unnecessary. Why did you need to do that to register to vote?
You said you attended college. Where did you?
I attended Mouse College.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I got involved with voter registration with Dr. McPherson and the student groups out there who were participating. You know, there were students out there who participated in the Alabama Christian movement. And of course, at that time, you know, the movement would go around various areas, different, but the churches wouldn't allow them to meet, the ones that they were invited to. Of course, there were those who would not allow them to meet for whatever reasons. I guess some of them were afraid and things of that nature. I can understand that. But we participated a lot with the voter registration, and he asked that we continue that, you know, just, you know, I continue doing this, you know, and keep encouraging other people, and somebody needs your assistance in getting to the polls, and that has been a carry on.
I was going to ask that. When you look at voting and registering then, and you look at it now and trying to get people out to vote, what do you think?
I think I have mixed emotions because I find myself getting angry because I know how hard it was. And now it's so simple. I'm saying, why won't they go and do it, you know? But they don't know about all of this. And that's why we have to teach our young children about sacrifices that have been made for people to vote so that we can encourage them to vote, and let them know that this didn't come without sacrifice, that people really had to go through something in order to vote.
Do you think enough students today recognize or taught enough or are exposed enough to sacrifices and really know what it means for people like you, and it wasn't that long ago?
I think that it does not make an impact upon them because they don't know the story. I think it's going to take, I think they need to know what has happened. You know, it's strange how you feel about something. If you know, it's so easy to take things for granted. You know, our children come up now, they just don't know anything about hard times, you know, and they don't know how difficult things really were for our foreparents. They really don't know that.
Do you think that it would help interviews like this that you're talking about, growing up right in Birmingham, growing up on a farm, milking a cow, doing certain things? You think when you say that, and we talk about children not really knowing, that interviews like this would really help, that they can say, here's a woman that's not that old and this is what she did to help us and how she grew up. Do you think kids get things on a silver platter?
Well, I think getting things on a silver platter really has been more hurtful than helpful in many instances, depending on the people.
Sure.
It does not say that everybody has to catch it hard in order to appreciate it. I don't go with that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we have to evaluate our situation with our children, and see, there may be some things we might need to do for one that don't do for the other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to depend on individuals. And I think the more that we share these kinds of messages with them and to get them to understand this, I think that it will have a greater effect on them.
What about when we talk about children, your children, what did you say to them? Do they know about the struggles?
Oh yes, they know about the struggles. I made sure that they learn about the struggles. I want them to hear it from me. I want them to hear it from us, as a matter of fact. And they think it's so hilarious when my brothers and sisters, we get together and we start telling the stories about all the work we had to do at home. And we do that because, you know, we can tell, you know, give them a little chore to do, and they say, oh, life is just so difficult. And I said, oh my goodness, I remember. I would have been so thrilled You know, if I had, what telling, like my daughter was saying about the girls cleaning their room, I said, oh, I could just hate a bed to myself. I would have thought I was in heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. And now a room, oh, that's unheard of, you know. They're going, like, where in the world, you know. But they don't realize, so they take all of this for granted, you know.
Just like people take voting
Sure,
for
and they
granted.
take voting for granted. You know, they just, oh, I'll go vote. And I just, you know, I just feel like that we need to let them know it is really important. This is very important that you exercise that right to vote.
You mentioned Reverend Shuttlesworth and the things that he did and even the things that he's doing now. What do you think of Reverend Shuttlesworth?
I think that he is a wonderful man. I think many times sometimes I don't think he's given the credit that he deserves. As a matter of fact, I mean, he made sacrifices beyond. I mean, when you sacrifice your life, that's all you have. And that I know that he did. And actually, he was very instrumental in getting all of this done here in Birmingham. Reverend Shuttlesworth. And he stood tall a long time ago. And you would wonder, why isn't this man afraid? I often wonder if I know he has to be afraid. But if there was fear in him, you could not tell me.
When you look back at what things occurred and when you see the Civil Rights Institute today, when you've come and you've looked through, how did you feel?
Well, you know, having so much of this I was very familiar with. You know,
Did it bring back memories?
and it brought back a lot of memories. And I never would have believed that this would have been established for the world to see. Nobody could have made me believe that this would come into play the way it has. And I just think this place is very unique. You can visit other places, but not understand to contest this place.
And before we, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
And I think that, because I couldn't wait to bring my class here.
Okay, that's
I
it.
really couldn't. I wanted my class to come here. Because when I first started out, when I first came up with the idea, and I was about having a field trip and bringing the children here and taking them over to our church, well, I had a lot, sort of had got a feeling of how many would be interested was the parents. So of course I sent letters and I got a pretty good response, a good response. Then the word started getting around and it started dwindling and dwindling and dwindling down the numbers. And of course, that was an experience after the children, the parents who came with me, of course the white parents.
What school was this?
This was the Jefferson County School. And after this experience, these parents said to me that they really, they could feel something, and they were so touched and moved by this experience until it was unbelievable.
What do you say to people who live right in Birmingham who have not visited the Institute? What would you say to get them to visit?
Well, it's really their loss, so they really missed a lot by not visiting this institute. But I try to encourage people to come. I just want them, because after you get them to come, they said, people would say, many people say, I just don't want to relive that. So I've heard what it's like, and I had a difficult time with it. I said, but it makes you appreciate so much more when you come in and see. It gives you an appreciation for all of the things, because I know people would say to us, because we would go all over wherever the movement. We would go to Bessemer, Power, from here to Timbuktu, and people would say to my husband, they would say, "You all want to go way out there?" I mean, I'm talking about black people to that mess, And now when it all coming together, and then when things start happening the way, and then those voices got softer. And then they didn't want it known that they were not a part of that mess at that time.
Is there something that I didn't ask you that before we close you'd like to share with us?
I think you did a very good job asking questions, but this has really been, this institute, I just wish that the entire world could see this institute. I really do.
We certainly thank you for sharing with us today.